the anamnesis of love. Throughout my existence, I have been pursued by an inexplicable sense of profound incompleteness. This is neither the conventional loneliness of youth nor the familiar isolation of the perpetual outsider. Rather, it is a more primordial cosmic awareness of having forgotten something essential, a persistent intuition that I navigate this world with a form of birth amnesia, searching for a soul I have already known in a dimension beyond time. In moments of deepest contemplation, I have arrived at this fundamental truth. The concept of a soulmate represents not a future discovery but a metaphysical reunion. We are, as Plato and the ancient philosophers proposed, spirits who beheld ultimate reality before incarnation, who perhaps formed transcendent bonds in that pre existence, only to be immersed in Lethe's river of forgetfulness before entering this corporeal realm. Life, therefore, constitutes not a journey of discovery, but one of anamnesis, the gradual, often painful process of recollecting what our souls have always known, but temporarily forgotten. Our divine purpose, yours and mine, is not primarily to locate this other being. This represents our first and most consequential misunderstanding. Our purpose instead is to cultivate our own soul to such a degree of spiritual refinement that we become recognizable to the one who seeks us just as we seek them. This insight reveals the exquisite yet uncompromising logic of the spiritual path. The reunion is conditional, promised but not guaranteed. It manifests if and only if both souls undertake their separate transformative journeys through their respective wildernesses of becoming. The condition is unequivocal. We must relinquish all that is carnal and selfish. What constitutes the carnal? It is the materialistic world we encounter daily, the realm of transactional relationships, where the sacred act of union degrades into momentary gratification or economic exchange. It is the obscuring fog of bodily appetites, the domain where predatory and narcissistic impulses flourish, a reality that seemingly demands selfishness as a prerequisite for survival. It is the dense illusion of samsara that Buddhist philosophers have long identified as the veil separating us from authentic being. And what embodies the selfish? It is the constructed I that I have meticulously crafted throughout my life, the ego, the false self, the persona built upon the foundation of what might be called manufactured sin. It is the self that craves recognition, that demands validation, that passes judgment on others to mask its own profound vulnerability and existential terror. To relinquish these aspects represents the great work of spiritual alchemy. It is the kenosis described by mystics across traditions, the deliberate emptying of self. It is the transformative fire that must consume the dross of ego until only the gold of the spiritual and selfless remains. This is not passive surrender, but active, moment by moment resistance against our conditioned nature. It is the practice of daily waking to our higher potential, the choice, renewed each morning, to embody selflessness in a world that incentivizes its opposite. Herein lies the simultaneously tragic and glorious symmetry of this cosmic arrangement. Two souls bonded before the advent of time are cast to distant corners of existence, veiled by amnesia's mist. Surrounded by the carnal and the selfish, they can find each other only by independently walking parallel spiritual paths. They cannot see one another directly. They cannot call out across the void. Their sole compass is their alignment with divine purpose. If either soul falters, surrendering to carnal temptation, they deviate from the path. If either clings to selfishness, they construct an impenetrable barrier around their essence, becoming unrecognizable to their counterpart. Both must, through their sovereign free will, choose the spiritual and selfless path. Each must ascend their solitary mountain of becoming. This explains why true love in its authentic form remains so exceedingly rare. It is not a gift bestowed, but an achievement earned. It is not something discovered through chance, but something cultivated through intention and spiritual discipline. And then, if both souls have completed their respective transformations, if both have transcended ego's limitations, if both have scaled their separate yet parallel mountains, they find themselves at the summit of consciousness. There they turn, they behold, and they recognize one another with absolute certainty. This constitutes the reunion, the completion of anamnesis. It is the soul remembering its counterpart, not through fleeting emotion, but because both have attained identical spiritual elevations, the singular vantage point where recognition becomes possible above the obscuring fog of worldly attachment. This is true love in its highest expression, not a codependent entanglement, but a spiritual and selfless communion of two complete, sovereign, and purified souls who have each fulfilled their individual journeys of becoming. Zerga in synthesis with the philosophers.